Hello and welcome to the Awakened Feminine podcast. I'm your host, 𝐤𝐞 𝐁𝐚𝐫𝐭𝐤𝐮𝐬, and my mission is to share the love and wisdom of inspiring women from around the world who have gone through adversity and turned their pain into purpose. Today, I'm excited to share the love and wisdom of workplace transformationalist, speaker, coach, and best-selling author, Julie Bartkus, who is joining me all the way from Chicagoland in the USA. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
I'm so excited to have you on my podcast. I want to ask you before we dive into everything we're going to be talking about, what is your definition of an awakened feminine?
Oh, I think it's somebody who's really aware of who they are in this lifetime, and they have the confidence to proceed with pursuing their authentic self and who they're meant to be. How's that?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your definition.
Oh, thank you for asking.
Every guest has a different definition, and I just really love to know because it's the expression of who they are. So I love
Yeah,
that.
and I
Thank
love
you.
the word awaken too, because it's so true that we can go through life not really knowing who we are, not having that awareness, and I know I've been there in my life several times where it's like, wait a second, how did I get here? And then you wake up and you become aware, and then you can move in purposeful direction towards the reality you want to create.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a beautiful explanation as well. Thank you so much. So,
Thank you.
Julie, I want to ask you, I know that you were in corporate before and, now you're doing your workplace transformations and you've written a best-selling book. How can you share with us a journey of how you went from being in quite a different role, in the career to coming to this place where you're like, oh, I'm going to go in and, transform workplaces.
Yeah, and transforming workplaces was always a fascination of mine, understanding what causes toxicity in the workplace. And I thought it was really interesting, the people who were the gossipers, the people who were the pot stirrers, the people who were negative or brought drama in. So every time in corporate, when there was a new manager I worked for, and I think in 8 years, I worked for over 12 different supervisors, I always made a study of it to say, oh, what are the ones doing that really motivate a team? And what are the other ones doing that's not so motivating? So that's really a huge part of the journey, is just that I was really fascinated by what some managers were doing that was right, that was leading to results, that was making us feel motivated, and what did others do that just really, really drained us. I also have experience in retail, and I've spent a great many years working specifically in the childcare industry. So with people who own brick and mortar childcare businesses. And one of the reasons I got into public speaking, it's a very personal reason. And I know this is a very personal show where you share some journeys. So I want to intertwine that. But in my late 20s, when I was working in corporate, I was also going through divorce. I was leaving an abusive relationship. And I remember just a desire, something awakened in me where it's like, go to the bookstore, go look for a book, go read something. And I started reading books by 𝐉𝐻𝐻 or Zig Ziglar, Les Brown. And I remember reading their words, and their words were literally transforming my life. And I thought to myself, what a profound thing this would be to do if I could get out there and speak and change somebody's world with my words. I mean, even just one person, I thought it would be just the coolest thing in the world, because I was sitting in this place where I was in a very verbally abusive relationship, trying to get out. And it hit me, you could think different to get a different result. There's nothing broken about you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's about you transforming your mind so you can up level your vision for your life in terms of what's possible. And that was profound to me. And even when I'm transforming workplaces and working with executives or working with leaders or owners, it's all going to start with our own mindset. Where's your mindset at, and how high can you elevate it so that you can totally change your life? But when I was in this place, I remember I was sitting in a dark corner in my house with like a little book light or flashlight, reading and with a highlighter and just like a sponge absorbing the words. And I was like, whoa, there's something somebody didn't tell me.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong, nothing broken. I just have to change the thoughts I'm thinking about my life
Yep.
and bring to life a new vision.
Oh, wow. You know, as you were speaking, I was getting full body tingles.
Oh,
Like, oh my goodness. That's
yeah.
wow. Thank you so much for sharing that personal story with us. Because you know, it's being vulnerable and sharing your journey. But wow, and I do definitely believe that once you change your mindset, things
Mm.
just start happening, all the synchronicities, everything just seems to flow, and it takes you to where you're meant to go, I guess you can say that.
Yeah.
And so I just love that you just started absorbing and going, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I can just change how I think. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of times, I mean, not just personally, but as I said, in the workplace, you have those employees where they're just stuck in this mindset. I mean, I used to manage the pediatric pharmacy, hospital pharmacy. I can't get my words out. Um, where I am, and you see the people that that are the ones that just do the work and they just get on with it, and they're so positive, they're so happy, and everyone's happy around them. And you see the other ones that are, I'm going to say it, shit stirrers.
Right, right. Good word for it.
Yeah. and and you kind of go, why are you still here? Or the people that are so depressed and angry, and they just make everyone scared around them. And
Yeah.
it's that, like you say, it's just so fascinating. It's I love that, because I've always been fascinated, but I mean, I haven't gone to the extent of becoming a workplace transformationalist.
Right.
Because the different characters that play out in the workplace, it just creates how the workplace environment is, and also productivity product I can't get my words out this morning, but productivity. And
Right.
again, like you say, the bosses, they're a big factor as to how people work, how
Yeah.
the team's vision, because some managers actually don't have any vision. They just go, I'm just gonna you know do whatever and manage people, but not actually
Yeah. And to me, it's like
lead
we're
them.
making a choice. Are we managing by the vision, or are we just saying, all right, everybody, do what you got to do to get through the daily stress?
Yeah.
Just get through it, and we could all go home and have dinner with our families, come back and do it again.
Yeah.
So, you don't realize when, or how powerful that vision truly is. So that's a lot of what I teach, but not just even for leading a team, but for your personal life also.
Mm.
And when I was sitting in that dark corner reading that book, highlighting things, it was like this whole vision was coming to life inside of my mind about the kind of relationship that I want and how I want it to be personally. And then I remember starting to get on the treadmill. I gained a lot of weight at the time, and I started getting on the treadmill, reading the books and highlighting, but my lines kind of started getting a little squiggly on the treadmill. But it was like, wow, I got to bring a bigger vision to life for me. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing in the workplace and outside of it, is to really cultivate and think about the vision that you want for your life. And it could be the vision that you want for this week, or the vision you want for it next month. But so many of us are living in the past, and even a second ago is the past. It doesn't have to be like, oh, well, I let go of that a year ago. But if you're having thoughts that are really thinking about what happened a moment ago or yesterday, and you're not really connected to that vision, life becomes so much harder than it needs to be. And I think there's a much more joyous place if you jump over that fence, so to speak, and say, all right, I'm just going to connect with that vision every day, and I'm going to live there in that vision and see how amazing it can be to work towards it.
I love that. Oh, thank you so much. I want to ask you, you started reading, and you were highlighting, and you're going, oh, if I can just change one person's life, if I can do this, um, that'd be awesome. So what was the catalyst that really made you go, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to go and do this. public speaking, because that was the first thing you wanted to do. And what was that experience like, when you actually went and did it? What was that experience like for you?
Well, it sucked. I mean, honestly, I started speaking to everybody and anybody who was willing to listen. And there were parts of it that were really good. But the thing that you don't realize about the masters who speak and make it look so effortless and easy, they're really working hard behind the scenes to craft their words. So I'm like, all right, I'm leaving my corporate job. I'm going to go and speak to anybody and everybody who's willing to listen, even the old guys at the Rotary Club. And at the time, they felt like they were really old because I was pretty young. And, and I think it took me by surprise that you had to work at the craft too, that it couldn't just be like, oh, I went through this and I did this and now I'm here. But you also have to study the craft. You have to study the art of what you want to bring to life. And if you're an artist, if you're a musician, you're going to be practicing. The same thing is true with speaking. So I really started to pay attention to how people crafted their words, to how people improved their speaking. And I got involved with some associations and it did some training. And I was like, all right, I think I understand. And that's when things started to really improve. So if there's a craft that you're thinking about pursuing, there might be part of it that's really natural to you, but you have to think about even the top musicians, the people who you think are beautiful singers, Celine Dion, whoever it might be. How many hours do they spend training? How many hours do they spend practicing? How many hours do they spend like learning the different vocal range of their own voice? So to me, you have to understand, it's like, might feel like, oh, okay, ta-da, here's my calling.
Yep.
But then you have to go, oh, okay, this is the craft. This is public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
What's it about? And then you develop it from there. So it got better, and it got better pretty quick. But I had that awareness moment where it's like, oh, okay, you just can't go there and open your mouth and say anything like you would to a best friend or a family member. It's a craft and it's an art. And once you realize that and you work on it, not so bad.
Yeah.
And actually, it's pretty good. I've had the opportunity to speak in some very large platforms, and I'm grateful for those opportunities. And then every family member asks you to speak at weddings and funerals and everything that happens.
You're like, okay. I love that you mentioned that you need to work on the craft, because I think in our digital age, everything is like instant gratification. We need to do this now. And when people, you go on social media and people have results, or they become millionaires, or they get famous, and they don't
Everything
see
is now.
they don't see that there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. So it's such a great reminder to remember to, if it's something that you really want to pursue, to just keep working at it and keep working at it, because there's not many people where things do happen overnight. There are,
Right,
but
exactly.
it's very rare and few.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, Julie, I mean, I was saying to you before we started our podcast, I wish I knew you a few years ago when I was going through this workplace detox at where I was. There was like, morale was very low, and it was just a debacle, it was a shambles at the workplace. And you go through and you go, why are some managers like that? We were saying that you were looking at the different managers and seeing there's a pattern, those ones that really help to motivate the team and get them working, and they're happy and they want to be productive. And then there's the managers who are not so motivating, and maybe quite a bit dictatorial in their approach as well. It's my way or the highway. They don't really listen. Are you able to maybe give us a bit of a overview, maybe, of what are the traits of really good leaders?
Yeah, so what I look at in really good leaders, there's a couple of things. And I learned so much from my time in corporate to the time that I became a manager in the retail world. And I know that when you step into a leadership role, many a times there's not training. It's like you get a pat on the back, good luck. You're gonna learn the ropes. You're gonna get in there, and people are gonna test you, and you're gonna learn. And that was pretty much the message that I was given when I started managing people. But if you look at really good managers and what they're doing, I would say number one is they've got a strong, compelling vision in place that they're leading their team to, because they ask themselves, where am I leading my team to? Where is the destination? And if you get into a workplace and there's no vision, it's just about the task. It's just about accomplishing these tasks. And that kind of motivation is only so sustainable. So it's got to be about being something bigger than you would be on your own by joining forces with this team so that you're bringing something to life. And even if at the top of the organization, there's no vision, regardless of what level you are, craft one, cultivate one. If you're an employee, create one for yourself. I've done that as well, where it's just like I rediscovered who I was, reawakened to who I was in the workplace. I'm like, all right, this is going to be my vision for the work I'm doing. But cultivate a vision and make that the destination, and make it a vision so that people are excited and they feel connected and they feel alive with it. So that would be one thing, is having that strong, compelling vision in place. The other thing would be communication, is to really create an environment where direct and open communication is a priority. I think top leaders are authentic, they're transparent, and they're vulnerable. And that's much different than old school management, where it's all about pride and it's all about ego. But we have a lot of people who step up into leadership roles, and then they're like, oh, I was promoted, so my leader believes in me, my boss believes in me, so I can't let them down. And they spend a lot of time trying to figure out the puzzle by themselves. They spend a lot of time just trying to piece it together. They get some of it right and some of it not so right, but they're really struggling on their own, trying to make it happen. So as a leader, make sure you also talk to your leadership team about what they should do when they don't have the answers, and how it's okay to come to you and okay to have conversations about what should happen in different situations. Because that's where I was caught as a young manager. It was like, I had an employee who punched in, and then after she punched in, she wanted to go and go to a fast food restaurant and go out to eat. And I was like, what do I do? So when my young mind, I'm like, well, if you punch in the clock and you want to go eat at one of those restaurants, maybe you ought to think about working at one of those places. And I don't know if what I said was right or wrong at the time, but I was greeted the next day by my regional manager, who says, oh, I heard about your conversation. I'm like, oh, but I didn't know, it was more like getting thrown into the fire, try to figure it out by yourself. So authentic, genuine, transparent, vulnerable are really good words to keep at the front of your mind when it comes to communication. The other thing that's really important, and there's a lot of things I could talk about, and we got like over 40 different staff to motivators, things that really drain your workplace of motivation, but also how you lead your team and how they perform is based on your positive belief in them. And you've probably felt this, where you had certain managers who really believed in you, and then you have other managers who are like, I don't know, she's coming, maybe I'll run the other direction. But it's really important that you believe in your people. And if you don't believe in them, transfer them, make them part of somebody else's team, or change your own mindset so that you do believe in them, but believe in them. And people are going to live up to that belief that you hold inside of yourself. It's an energetic thing, but it's so critically important.
I love that. Thank you so much. And definitely when I stepped up to when I got employed to be the manager, to actually go in and detox the workplace, I was the person that got chosen to do that.
Oh, not so I have some things you could share with us.
They're not having I've not been a manager in the pharmacy, in the hospital pharmacy before. But the thing with me was, as a junior, it was very apparent to me that my managers at that time didn't know what they were doing. And, they probably didn't have the skills, they didn't get the training, etc. So it was, that's why the morale went right down. So having to step in, it was like, okay, my mindset was, what do I do that is completely different to what they did? So that's how I worked it.
That's good. That's good. And sometimes it's so important to look at what's not working and then, yeah, do the opposite. Why not?
Yeah.
And you can learn a lot from the existing staff that are in place too, in terms of, well, what's motivating them? What's demotivating them? And I've asked so many staff of all various levels that question, and you learn so much, and they'll tell you, a lot of times you'll get those answers right from your staff.
Yeah.
What's draining your motivation here? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was one of the staff that was drained of the motivation. I knew exactly what was happening, and people used to just love to come and tell me, oh, this is happening, this is happening. So it was, I knew what I had to do, but getting some of the shit stirrers and the angry people on board, that was very hard. And I don't think managers get enough support or training for to deal with those people. I want to ask you, as you're part of your work, you do the detox. So when you go in and you identify, okay, the managers are actually doing a pretty good job, but then there's the staff, and these are staff that have been there forever and a day. They know how to work the system, and they will do anything to keep people in this toxic mindset with them.
Yeah.
How do you get them detoxed? I think that's probably the question. How do you get them detoxed, or how does it work to how do you transform them or transform the workplace with those people are there?
Well, you have to see if you can. I mean, some people can be transformed, others can't. So I always say, see if your people are coachable. If those people who are the pot stirrers, causing trouble, gossiping, are they coachable? Meaning, can you give them a suggestion, something to change their behavior, and they run with it and they make the change happen? But it really takes a series of conversations to be able to give your people specifics that you want them to do, and then to see if they live up to it. However, the big responsibility comes into play for the leader to say, this is our vision. This is where we're going. Are you on board? Do you want to be a part of this? Is this important to you? And if the person's like, no, this isn't important. No, I don't want to be a part of it. Well, okay. They're pretty much saying they don't want to be a part of it. But if they say, yeah, that's really good, and I'd love to be a part of it. So the first step in making a transformation happen, it happens at the very top leadership, or the person who's leading the team, is to be able to communicate the vision in an incredibly enthusiastic fashion that might be totally out of your comfort zone, but to communicate the vision and then to see who's on board and who's excited about it. And what I find in many teams that I work with is that leaders want one thing for their staff, and staff want the exact same thing. Everybody pretty much wants to come to work feeling positive, feeling motivated, feeling energized, feeling valued. Everybody wants the same thing. Yeah. The leaders don't know how to get their team there, and the teams don't know how to get themselves there. So it becomes this really interesting puzzle to try to figure out. And it's really tough when you're figuring it out by yourself. So you really want to communicate the vision, which is where we started talking about at the start of this podcast, but communicate it in a way that you've never communicated it before, and see what difference it makes with your team, and ask them, is this important to you? Yeah. Is this something you want to be a part of? And then from there, you can say, well, fantastic. In order for us to achieve this vision, here's what I need to see from you. So you start tying everything into the vision. And there's another piece in there too. When you're looking to make a transformation happen, I really believe in leaders taking 100% responsibility for the picture that's in front of them. So for the team that you created, this is your artwork. This is your masterpiece, right? Yeah. You created it. So most of the time, and sometimes I understand we're not the ones hiring the people, but sometimes we are. But we either hire them, we coach them, or we didn't coach them, or we didn't fire them, or we didn't put that plan of action into place to where we could let them know the specific steps that we need them to take. So that has to be in place. A huge part of the transformation is also to come to your team with an open heart and say, listen, everyone, this is a vision that I'm working on bringing to life, and I would love for all of you to be on board with me. And I know that I haven't done some things right as your leader. So this month, here's the goal I'm setting. Here's what I, as your leader, I'm going to be doing more or differently. And I'm going to check in with you to see how I'm doing. So we take full responsibility from the top down. And you will see an immediate impact on your team by you taking that step. And it's not an easy step to take by any means, but it's a huge step in the transformation process.
Yeah, I love that. I I love that I'm talking to you now and I'm getting confirmation that what I did
Oh,
was
good.
because
Good.
because I was in a workplace where although I got put in this position to help detox or bring the morale back, my managers were not people that were motivational. It was very much I was working by myself to get the morale up down here, but the people up there were not really helping because they were they also were the people that were making the managers before demotivated. So
Yes.
it was just this very weird situation to be in, but it's
It
really,
really is, because you at the same time, you need somebody to have a vision that's greater than the vision that you have for your team. But if you have nobody like that, it's like, well, wait a second,
yeah,
where do I go? And I wrote an article many years ago about who motivates the motivator. And if you're the motivator motivating a team, well, who's motivating you?
yeah,
Right. So it's
yeah,
a very interesting dynamic that plays out.
yeah. So my motivation at that time was get the morale up. That was my motivation. Have a happy workplace. Have a happy workplace. That was my motivation. So it was that whole communication piece, which was completely missing. The organization, that was completely missing. It was bringing those two things together to then boost the morale and asking staff what they wanted, how can things improve. But funnily enough, you were talking about the people that aren't coachable, but they complain all the time. They complain when the morale was bad. And then you bring all these things in, and then they complain and saying, oh, it's too positive. And you're like,
Right.
what I don't know what else I can do. So um I know like in most corporate places you can fire people, but for when I was working in a hospital, it was a government department. It's basically near impossible to invite people. How can leaders, or how can leaders work together with those toxic people, but in a way that they don't affect staff morale and doesn't spread their toxicity? Because I find when there's leaders that are not as strong, they tend to get sucked into that toxicity.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
And it's so easy, especially teams of women. We really have a need to fit in. And you could hire somebody who's brilliant. They say they won't gossip. No, 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 I'm not a part of it. But you get them into a gossipy team, and what do?
yeah,
They gossip, they become part of it. And that's because the need to fit in can be so incredibly strong, especially with women. And it's just the truth. It's just how it is. And that's why a lot of people say, oh, it's women gossiping. And it's not just women gossiping.
yeah.
But that's where it's like, it really stands out. It's like the women, the women, the women. Um, but with that scenario, it's really important to be united by a common goal. People don't typically want to just come in to work and ride it out for 8 hours or for 10 hours. They want something bigger. So if you're in a position where you can't fire them, they're there. It could be government, and there's other kinds of organizations where it's like, I can't fire them, I can't get rid of them. You make your vision so strong that people want to be a part of it. And the ones who aren't going to be a part of it are almost the outsiders.
Mm,
That's one way. So it's kind of like you think about this big circle of everybody joining forces to achieve this common goal, and you're all getting so excited, and that excitement's building. And then you've got 2 or 3 people over here are like, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that.
yeah.
And that can happen. But what you want to do is sit down with these people one-on-one and say, hey, listen, I really don't see you participating in the vision. And I'm just wondering what it is that you'd like to get from your employment here. What is it that you want out of your life? What is it that you want out of your life professionally? And you have that conversation with them. And typically there's a place inside of people that we can get to when we ask the right questions. And when I'm doing a lot of team programs, sometimes to reconnect people to the vision, we talk about who's inspired you? Why are you in this line of work? Why is this important to you? What difference do you want to make? And we just keep going through these questions and peeling back the layers till the person's like almost in tears. Like my grandmother wanted me to be a pharmacist because she, and this is my true story, she did want me to become a pharmacist. Because she came from the old country. Medicine was so expensive in Lithuania. They had so many injuries trying to get over from Lithuania to America. So, you can go down this whole line that really connects you with your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And if you sit down with the people who what I would call, would hopefully eventually be the outsiders, because your vision is so strong and compelling, then you have those conversations with them. Why are you here? Why did you pick this industry? What difference does it make? What difference do you want to make? Why does it matter to you?
Yeah.
And you help reconnect them with their why, because they pursued their work for a reason. And I don't care if they're an auto mechanic or, a truck driver or whatever, they pursued it for a reason. And we want to tap into the heart of that reason and reconnect them with it.
Oh, that's beautiful. I wish I knew that when I was in, when I was in that position, because it was very tough. And actually, this conversation has been very healing for me. So thank you
Oh, thank you
for this. Yeah, because obviously they're in the profession for a reason, but it's like, but when you're in that situation where they're being toxic to the people around you, you just get into that headspace where you're like, why are you like that? Why can't you just be a team player and just be
Yes.
happy with everyone? So
Yes.
yeah, I
Well,
really wish I knew that to do
yeah,
that at that time.
yeah, it's such an important awareness. And even if you look at family dynamics, if you get together with families, and the holidays will be coming up soon enough to where we'll be getting together, and you study the dynamics, think about, the happy family members and then the not so happy family members. And, sometimes you just want to say, oh, come on. And, I've got some negative family members. I won't name names. But it's like, all right, well, why can't you just be happy? And it really takes a special kind of person not to get sucked into somebody else's unhappiness, because it impacts us all. It really does. And even if you are so strong and you're doing your diligence and you're working your mindset, it can still be easy to get sucked into what somebody else is feeling or somebody else is thinking,
Yeah.
right? And you've got to really just stay with your vision of what you want for your life. There's conversations I remove myself from when my family's talking about them. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go over here.
Yeah.
Because I'm protecting my mindset, or I'm going to do something extra special tonight, go listen to some more Les Brown or whatever it might be, to pull my mindset where it needs to be so I can best show up for my clients and my customers and for the people in my life. So just be aware of that and really study yourself and go, okay, when does my mindset shift? Who is it? Is it Aunt Susie, that really makes me feel negative, and then I leave feeling negative, and then I just want to vent about it, and then I'm actually causing gossip. So there's techniques that you can implement when you're there in those situations, whether it's team members or family members, where you protect yourself and your mindset so that you can stay in that sacred space with inside of yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, this saying is very crass, but one of my ex-mentors used to say it, you can't take a bath in shit and not come out stinky. Which is
how true.
But
I think this
it's
is
true.
the first interview that I've been on where that story has been shared. So thank you. That analogy.
Yeah, but
it's so true though. It really is. But then you've got to cleanse yourself somehow, right?
yeah.
So you're going to go swim in some healing water. You're going to soak your mindset in some of your favorite quotes, whatever it might be. But you've got to fully take responsibility for yourself and your life and not become victimized by others' attitudes or others' thoughts, and know that you can stand in full power of what you think and how you want to think.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And
Thank
at
you.
any time. It's hard, but it's
It is.
possible.
It is very hard because since I've been on my, I mean, I started my growth journey after my job, that job. Um, so it was, now going back, I know that it'll be very different if I was put in the same position, So it is changing that mindset because, my mindset is so different to, the khaki back then, gosh,
Yes.
7, 8 years ago, to now. But you kind of look back and go, wow, I needed all that to get to where I am now. So it's a beautiful journey, but it's sometimes it's a bit hard.
Yes, totally. And what a beautiful thought that you needed all of that so you can get to this place where you are right now.
Yeah.
How true is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't feel guilt or shame about what you're going through. Just recognize it as part of your journey and know that it's all playing out as it needs to so that you develop into this amazing person, more amazing, that you're going to be for your next opportunity. So
Yeah.
tomorrow you're going to be a different person than you are sitting here right now listening to this, especially if there's a word or a phrase that touches you. Tomorrow you're different. In the next
Yeah.
minute, you're different.
Yeah. Exactly. I love that.
Mhm.
I want to ask you, we've been talking about the workplace, and you did, touch on at the beginning that you had, you were in an abusive relationship, and reading Les Brown and Zig Ziglar and getting into really the personal growth arena really helped you.
Mm.
Um, was there any other tools that you used to really help with that healing process as you were getting out of the abusive relationship? I mean, you started reading, but there must have been a point where you're like, okay, I can leave this relationship now.
Absolutely. There was another book that I recommend everybody read. It's In Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Mm,
And I picked up that book, changed my life. I picked up Norman Vincent Peale's Power of Positive Thinking. And I'll never, ever forget his quote in that book, which is, if you could change your thoughts, you could change your world.
mm,
I mean, really think about that. If you change your thoughts, you could change your world. And not only on a big spectrum, not only like, okay, I'm not in an abusive relationship. Okay, I'm with, the most intimate love of my life, but even on a small level, when things aren't playing out for you as you want them to be, what if you can change a thought that you're having? What if instead of thinking that person doesn't care to, oh, that person is exactly where they need to be. How can I shine a little brighter in the situation? So
mm,
just changing a thought can shift everything. So that's one thing I learned is I have this process that I teach. It's my 4-step process. Well, actually now I think I evolved it to 5, but number 1 is to really become aware of your negative thoughts. And that was something I started doing way back when, as I started writing down every negative thought I was having. And it's really interesting, the thoughts that you think that are so subconscious, so deeply buried, you don't even know you're having them because
mm,
it's like this automatic programming inside of your head. And you'll often hear people say, oh, I'm so stupid, or I'm so dumb, or how did I screw that up again? Those aren't thoughts that they just said one day would be really good to start thinking. Those are thoughts that were fed to them from a small child growing
mm,
up. Those thoughts were implanted. And one of the thoughts that was implanted in me was, you dummy. Was even though my father would, loved us the best he can, he was from the old world where it was just kind of like, old style management, I guess, where it was just like, oh, you dummy, you screwed up, you dummy. And I had that going through my head for many, many years.
mm,
And when you start the process, the transformation, think like, wait a second, you dummy, that's a negative thought. Because I could be driving down the road, miss my exit, and the first words that pop into my head are like, oh, you dummy. I'm like,
mm.
well, wait a second, you're human, you gotta love yourself and all these different things. But become aware of your negative thoughts and then think about a positive thought that you can purposely transform that thought into. And those thoughts can start with, I look forward to, I'm thankful for, what if today is the day, or I am. Those are some great starting phrases for changing your thoughts. But you change your thought and you reflect on the new thought for like 6 seconds. and you'll feel different, but don't stop thinking that new thought until you feel different. Most psychologists will say it only takes about 6 seconds to change the way that we're feeling from a certain thought. So become aware of your negative thoughts, transform it into a positive thought. And then what you want to do is take action to support that thought, right? So if you're feeling in the workplace, you're less than confident and you're like, oh, I don't have any confidence, I am not strong in this area, do something to prove yourself wrong. Say, I am confident and I am amazing and people want to hear from me.
Yeah.
And then you pick up the phone and you call somebody and you have a great conversation, or you pick up the phone and you just pay somebody a compliment, whatever it might be, but you take action to support the new thought. And then you're generating a new feeling, which leads to a new result. And there's more complexities involved with that formula. But if you're listening to this and really resonating with the message in our conversation, is start by just saying, all right, I'm going to write down every negative thought I have, and then think about a positive thought. And if you don't know where to get a positive thought, go to books. Go look in books, look at the thoughts that really strike you and build your mental reserve of positive thoughts that you can think. And they may come to you in terms of quotes. They may come to you in terms of something somebody once said, whatever it might be. And I've got my whole reservoir of quotes or different things that they're so ingrained in there. But it's just like I could pull them out at a moment's notice. So whenever there's a negative thought that creeps in, I'm like, oh no, wait a second. Every day and every way I'm getting better, or everything happens in perfect timing, or whatever it might be, so that you're out of the routine of negatively reinforcing yourself, because you will be more productive in this lifetime if you learn to celebrate you, the uniqueness of you, and everything that you're accomplishing, every little thing, every little time you step out of your comfort zone, you'll be more productive, you'll be happier.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah. I want to take a little bit of a turn, well, kind of a little bit of a turn, because you kind of segued into it already. But self-love was a big thing for my journey. And so I want to ask you, what does self-love mean to you as an awakened woman?
The most powerful example that I could think of is being able to look at your eyes like you were a little child and feed that little child a message that maybe you never received as a child yourself growing up, or maybe one that you don't remember. So I think of it like looking at a picture of yourself as a little girl and saying, here's my vision for you. So little Julie, here's what I'd love for you to experience in your lifetime. Not based upon what I'm seeing with my eyes, because the relationship my parents had and the example they set, but something that would go way beyond amazing me. And I came to a point in my life where that became an important exercise, was to really give myself self-love, which was starting again with the vision of what I wanted for my life in every area, and not waiting for other people to fulfill you. Do things that fulfill you for you. And I've been divorced. I've also been widowed. And the short story of that is, my husband instantly and suddenly passed away in 2012. And I remember thinking like, oh, who's going to get me flowers and who's going to dance with me? And I just had so many like epiphanies during this time in my life. But one of them was, you know what? You got to be that for yourself. And you got to be that for other people. He was somebody who I knew since I was like 13 years old. And it was a week short of our 4-year wedding anniversary. But at that point, when I was standing there, and I remember standing in my 1904 farmhouse that I had bought, and he was gone and my son was gone and my mother-in-law was like panicking and moving out. And I'm like, okay, I'm left alone in this place. And I did this for everybody else. And I started thinking, okay, now's the time. Now's the time to get back to you. And I didn't even know at the time, like, well, okay, well, what defines me when you do everything for a husband and a son and a bunny and a dog and it's all gone? What defines you? So I ask people to think, like, right now in your life, if you were stripped down naked of everything that currently defines you, who would you be? And would there be anything left that would just be truly and authentically you? So for me, it was really getting in touch with what I desired, like I said, it was a very spiritual time for me, but it
Yeah.
was an awakening to what are the clues that the universe is giving you of the things that will make you happy. And I started writing those things down. I created a desire wall, which was
Mm.
a really big wall in my office. And everything I desired, I wrote down on a sticky note and I put it up on that desire wall. And I said, okay, long kisses in the wind, flowers, dancing, whatever it was, diamond earrings. These are things that I didn't judge it.
Mm.
It's really important. Don't judge the things that define you. Just let them define you and be like, oh, isn't that interesting? These are the things that are making me up. So I went through a period where I surrounded myself with flowers. I had flowers everywhere I looked. I was like, oh, there's flowers and there's more flowers. I'm like, I'm not waiting for anybody to buy me flowers. I'm filling up my life with flowers. And I did that with everything that became a desire of mine. I'm like, all right, I'm taking responsibility here and I'm cultivating this life. I'm crafting this vision and I'm going to manifest. I'm going to bring it to the surface. And I started paying attention to the desires because desires are clues, and started filling my life with the things that I truly wanted in it.
Wow. I love
Mm,
that story. Thank you for sharing another
you're
personal
welcome.
story with us. But it's
Yes.
so true that we go through our lives wanting other people to fill our cup when it's so
Oh,
important
yes.
for us to fill our own cup first.
Oh, and it's true. And there's still moments to this day and age where I'm like, oh, okay,
Oh,
somebody fill my cup, please fill my cup.
yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second, go get yourself some flowers, go out for that massage,
Yeah.
go do that thing, go take that drive. And you got to remind yourself that you are powerful and you've got the answers to your own happiness inside of you. And it doesn't necessarily take anybody else fulfilling anything for you except you doing it for yourself and realizing there's not too much I can't do for myself that would make me utterly and incredibly happy in this lifetime.
Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Julie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, I really just love you to share with us what's setting your soul on fire right now.
Oh gosh, well, I just moved to a lake house, so swimming in the lake is setting my soul on
Oh,
fire.
beautiful.
That
Can I
every day
come
I look
visit?
out. Yeah, yes, definitely, please, right through those doors. But that's definitely setting my soul, and that's something else that I wanted for me. I always have envisioned just living on water, and I'm like, ooh, now I live on a lake house. But what really sets my soul on fire, and today I had a full day of coaching calls with my clients, is seeing the transformations happen. It's powerful to think that many years ago, when I was going through that abusive relationship, that it was for a reason, so that I could not only transform my life on a powerful level and continue to do so with every passing day, but so that I could help others transform their life and help them step into the power that they don't even know exist for them yet. And that is just an incredible journey and an incredible happening for me is when I see I'm working with executives, working with owners of different businesses and seeing them really stepping up and transforming their life. And I'm like, yeah, this is good. This is so good.
That's so beautiful. I just
Mm.
love the work that you do, just so amazing because having worked in toxic workplaces before, it's just like, wow, I really wish that we had someone like you when we were going through that transition. So thank you so much for our conversation today. Thank you
Thank
for sharing your
you.
love and wisdom with us. If people want to find out more about you or how they can work with you, where should they go?
Sure, you can absolutely find me on Facebook. That's a good place. You could also find me juliebartkus.com, JULIE, BART as in Tom, KUS.com. And if you are in a leadership role or if you're thinking about personal coaching and I'm really resonating with you, there's a Getting Unstuck application that you can complete. We can have a free conversation just to talk and see if it's a good fit and see if I'm somebody who could help you transform your life. And I'd be
Beautiful.
honored.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. I'll have all your details and any recommended resources in the show notes so people can reach out to you. Thank you once again, Julie. I've loved our conversation today.
Thank you so much, Kaki Lee. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And until next time, I love you. I believe in you. And remember to always spread love, joy, and kindness wherever you go.